Good day, and welcome to A Place Called Through. I am the host of A Place Called Through, and we're broadcasting from WYTV7 Community Broadcasters Network. A Place Called Through. It's a place where we share a mission of hope. We have real people that share real life stories. They're stories of everyday things that are going on that affect us all from one area to the other, be it health, it be finances, it be even spiritual development and growing, maturing. All of this happens at A Place Called Through. And we do this with charitable donations. So, we invite you to give, sow a seed to help this ministry continue to grow. I am your host, Patricia Wade Goings. I am also the author of a book, Willpower, The Call to Rise Above. You can find that book on Amazon, and you can find it at Barnes & Noble. I'm your health and wellness coach. Again, I am the host of A Place Called Through. Today, we are so blessed and honored to have with us as we go into the month of October, celebrating Breast Cancer Awareness Month. And, I'm a survivor. Thank God I am a 7-year survivor of breast cancer. And we have with us today Miss Frances Peacock, who is a 6-year survivor. So you're going to hear stories from us of our survival, what it meant to go through it when we got our diagnosis. And we're doing that all today here on A Place Called Through. So I welcome to A Place Called Through, Miss Frances Peacock. Welcome, Miss Peacock.
Well, thank you, Miss Pat. It's a pleasure to be here with you to share with you today my journey dealing with breast cancer. And I'm just excited to be here to share it with the people. And my goal today is to maybe I can inspire somebody, change their negative thought into a positive.
And that's what we do here at A Place Called Through. We're all about that empowerment and encouraging people and helping to inspire them on their life journey. Because as you know, throughout life, we all face many different challenges. Some are a little bit more hard than others, and some, really just struggle to get through every day. But, we're going to talk about today breast cancer awareness. And it's just amazing the numbers that are showing that 1 in 8 of every woman in the United States will develop breast cancer in a lifetime. And, the statistics are really alarming that there's so many increasing cases of breast cancer. And according to statistics, in 2021, there's been an estimated of 281,550 new cases of invasive breast cancer, which will be diagnosed in women in the U.S., as well as another alarming number, 49,290 new cases of non-invasive breast cancer. Wow. Now, that makes us want to do something. There's something that we have to do to support this journey, this mission, for those that are still going through this battle. As you and I are survivors, we've gone through it. Thank God that, we're still survivors. But for those that are just recently diagnosed, the fear, the shame, the disappointment when the doctor, came in after all the tests and told me, okay, well, Miss Goings, it is breast cancer. At that time, just sitting in the doctor's office, it's kind of cold and dreary anyway. And it just seemed like that room got so cold to me. And when he gave the diagnosis, I tried all I could to hold back. But my greatest fear was now, how was I going to come home and tell my 2 children, your mom has breast cancer? And, when you get that diagnosis, it just really tears through you. So talk to us, Ms. Peacock, when you got your diagnosis, what were you feeling?
Well, I think I am in a strange category. In the beginning, I had put it off for a year, kept forgetting to get it. And the Holy Spirit kept speaking to me, go get your mammogram, go get your mammogram. So I called and made an appointment. I went and got my mammogram, and they told me to wait in the little room. And they came back and they said, well, we need to do an ultrasound. And I'm like, okay, I'm just, still positive. Okay. They did the ultrasound, and then they asked me to go back in the room and wait. And they said, oh, by the way, is there someone here with you today? I said, no, I drove myself. And they said, well, okay, well, just wait for us and we'll be in shortly. Well, I waited and waited. I'm like, well, what in the world taking so long? And when the doctor came in, he introduced himself as Dr. Briggs. And he said, I've only been with Buford Memorial a little over a month. He said, but if you trust me with dealing with you and being your doctor, I would gladly do so. I said, being my doctor? And he grabbed a hold of my hand and he said, I have to inform you that you have breast cancer in your left breast. And I just sat there and with a smile on my face and shock on the inside. And I'm looking at him and he said, Miss Lightner Peacock, do you understand what I'm saying to you? I said, yes, sir. I understand. You said I had breast cancer in you found a lymph node. I'm sorry. You found a lymph node in my left breast and it needs to be biopsied. And he said, but do you really understand? I said, Doc, if I let this get in my spirit, I'm going to start crying. And if I start crying because I'm by myself, I'm not going to be able to stop. So this is why I'm looking at you and I'm not saying much, because I don't want it to get in my spirit and then I have to drive home. But sure enough, it was positive. And I said, I want it out. They said, well, when do you want it out? I said, I want it out as soon as possible because it don't belong in my body. They did the surgery. Everything came out fine. But moving forward to something that you said about the shameness and all of that, I didn't have any of shameness. Mine was more concerned about my sister was diagnosed with breast cancer and she was not a breast cancer survivor. So that was more along the lines. I came home, I told my children, and when we went back to church, I told my church family. And a lot of people didn't understand why. But we are a close-knit little church. We don't have a great 200-300 membership, but we are very, very close-knit. And I told them because I needed all the prayer and wanted all the prayer that I could get other than myself. And that's what I shared my journey with my church family as I went through everything that I went through. I shared my journey with them. I don't know how much further you want me to go into this story. Do you want me to continue? Okay, well, I had a choice of radiation and chemo. I told them I did not want chemo because I had seen what chemo can do to people. It tears down their resistance. I just didn't want to go through that. So I chose radiation. I had 31 treatments of radiation that I had to go through. When I got to number 38, under my arm, nobody told me, you won't believe this, that I wasn't supposed to use deodorant because deodorant has metal in it and I was not aware. So when I kept going back and I kept telling them, I said, it looks like hamburger meat and it has an odor. Why? I'm like, it's very painful. It's getting worse. So on the 38th visit, I told them I can't do the last one. It was just so painful. And under my arm, when I tell you it looked like a pack of ground hamburger meat, that's exactly what it looked like. And it had an odor. And then when the doctor came in, she asked me, she said, did you use deodorant? I said, yes. Well, why? I said, because nobody told me I couldn't use deodorant. She said, did you realize deodorant had metal in it? I said, no, ma'am. I wasn't aware of that. So that's what I went through. So I pray somebody out there, if you're listening to me and you choose radiation, please do not use any deodorant under your arm. It will chew your body up with the radiation like a pack of hamburger meat. But my granddaughter cleaned it every night and put all this stuff, ointment on it that was supposed to go on it. And at the time, I think she was in her first year of college. So she was young, but she did that for me. My son didn't have the nerve to do it. Nobody else, but she did it. She cleaned it, kept it clean. So when I went, it didn't have the odor that it would normally have. I went through the radiation. My only thing was my hair changed its texture. I have curly hair, so if you wet it, it curls up. The texture of it changed and it got really, really thin. And I was very concerned about that. But I had a young beautician that I talked to here in our area, and she treated it for me. and kind of got it back to where it needed to be. I am thankful for that. My journey with breast cancer, because I had a great support team with my children and my church family, it made the journey easier, but it still was, try not to be emotional, it still was hard. What made it hard was when I laid in the bed at night and thought about my sister and thought about other people that had gone through the same issue with breast cancer. Lord, what's going to happen to me? I know I have faith, God. I know I trust you. And I thought about the scripture where the disciples said, Lord, increase my faith, because I needed that. Because when you are laying in the bed by yourself at night, lights out, all the family is asleep, and you laying there thinking about what you're going through and what you are facing, it takes an effect on you. And I tell people, it doesn't matter how strong you think you are in Christ, how high, what your title, none of that's important. The only thing is important is that you build and continue to build that relationship with God. Breast cancer is not an easy journey.
It
I
is
thought you
not.
were ready to say something.
It's not an easy journey to go through. And I share with you, at night when you're laying down, you have all kind of thoughts. I think that for me, I was just embarrassed because, being, I would say, a community advocate, and when you're always out in doing different things, and now you've got this horrendous ordeal that has just kind of like slapped you in your face, and you don't know how to deal with it. You're uncertain about how you're going to go through this process. When the doctor gave me my diagnosis, my son had actually taken me to the doctor that day. And, I just couldn't say anything to him. I just played it off like it was a regular doctor visit, everything was fine. But the doctor encouraged me. He said, Miss Patricia, you've got to tell your children. And I did not want to do that. I really did not want to do that. And so I kind of waited a couple of days actually before I actually said anything to them. I did health and wellness ministry at my church. And I think it was like a couple of years before when we're doing breast cancer awareness. And I just got that courage. I just got that notion. And I went to my pastor. I said, I feel like I need to let people know. And I did. And I did give my story that Sunday. And, of course, people were supportive. But it was just that fact, because you hear a little bit about this and you hear that. So you're thinking all these thoughts come into your mind about how people are going to now perceive you. Because when they get that word that you have breast cancer, it's as though you have something that's contagious, that if they touch you, if they hug you, that they're going to get it. And so in my mind, I'm thinking all of this, for me, when I went through, it was really horrendous as well, because my mother passed away from breast cancer. She did not let anybody know. And when the doctor, who she actually used to work for, she went for a physical exam and she was about to walk out before she even let that doctor know something was wrong. And the doctor said he had never in 35 years seen anything such. Her cancer had metastasized from her head to her toe. And shortly thereafter, she passed away. So, it was just really heart-wrenching for me as well, knowing what my mother went through. So, we want to encourage people, do those self-exam.
Yes.
Before you check yourself, you have to do that. Get your mammogram. A lot of your local clinics offer free mammograms. If they're not free, there's a sliding scale according to your income. So it's really, really important that we do get these exams. And remember, we are talking breast cancer here. 1 in 8 women in the United States will be diagnosed with breast cancer. So we're going to pause and take a break here for a minute. We're going to go into commercial, and then we're going to come right back with Miss Frances Peacock and myself on A Place Called Through, where today we're sharing inspirational moments about breast cancer. Be right back. Stay tuned.
October is Breast Cancer Awareness Month. And if you're a woman who's been impacted by this illness, you welcome the focus and the opportunity to learn more. I'm Carol Laurie. I am a naturopath, acupuncturist, and homeopath, and the focus of my clinical practice in my online community is to provide women, such as yourself, with the natural and integrative tools so you can get through treatment with reduced side effects and then move on to recover your health and know that you are doing everything possible to prevent your current recurrence. I've developed an online group coaching program, Empowered Against Recurrence. And during the month of October, I'm offering this at a reduced fee because I want all of you to have these natural and integrative tools to make them part of your life. So in the middle of the night, when there's that little voice that shows up and says, what if it comes back? You know that you're doing everything possible, taking the medical oncology with the natural and integrative science-backed tools to reduce your risk of recurrence. You can learn all about my upcoming program by going to www.empoweredagainstrecurrence.com. I hope to see you at one of my free classes offered throughout the month of October. This is Carol Laurie signing off for now. Hope you all have a wonderful day, and there'll be more later. Take care, everyone.
And welcome back to A Place Called Through. I'm your host, Patricia Wade Goings, and we're here today talking with Ms. Frances Peacock. We're talking about breast cancer. 1 in 8 women in the United States will be diagnosed with breast cancer. So we're talking about surviving breast cancer, the journey of just going through breast cancer, from the diagnosis to getting to this point of survival. And we want to encourage you again, please do those self-exams. Please do that on a regular basis. Go to your local clinic, speak to your doctors, get those mammograms. It will save your life. And at the end of the day, you will know that you do have support systems there for you. You know, Ms. Peacock and I both had shared, you know, with our families, where our support systems, our church families, you have nurse navigators that will walk you through this process. But if you don't take that first step, which is self-exam and getting that mammogram, you know, you put yourself at risk, and we don't want to see you do that. And yes, unfortunately, there are a large, alarming number of women who have not been able to survive this. But, you know, you have to take that chance. You know, everybody's story is different. And that's what we share here, those inspirational moments at A Place Called Through, where we share those kind of stories, you know, to help you get through those channels that you need to get through. So we're returning this conversation back to Ms. Peacock, and she has told you, you know, she is a 6-year survivor. She reached out to her church family. She has a very strong support family, you know, that supported her through this journey. So tell us, Ms. Peacock, now that, you know, you've gone through the hurdles of the surgery, the radiation, and the chemo, and I did do the radiation and I did do the chemo as well. For me, with the chemo, I think on the last session, I had like 16, if I recall. I think on that very last one, it made me so ill, they couldn't continue with me on the chemo. I actually ended up in the hospital for about a week. I had gotten so weak till actually my son had to help me get in the car. I was just drained. The nurses were very concerned for me because I had gotten so weak from it. When I went through the radiation, I had 12 sessions of that. I didn't get any scarring or anything from the radiation. I actually didn't have any really side effects other than that metastastic taste that you sometimes get. What was heartbreaking for me was I had prepared to go to church that one Sunday, actually. And, you know, I go to church regularly. And that particular night, I took my time and I rolled my hair up. And I just rolled it up so tight and just knew, you know, Sunday morning I was going to have these curls. What was alarming for me is, and I talk about that in my book, A Place Called Through, is that as I unraveled each curl, every lock fell to the floor. Wow. And the feeling that I had, I wanted to cry that day because I was so hurt to see this, because they had warned me that, you know, that is one of the side effects from the chemo and the radiation. And because now it was happening to me, but I was strong enough that I didn't break down. I just lightly just took my time again and unrolled each one. But I had enough hair where I could just kind of like put some moisturizer in it and look like I had a little small curly little style going on. So I got myself together and I just kind of shook it off and went to church. And I was riding with some people that day to church service. And it's amazing that one of the ladies that was in the car, she noticed my hair. And inside of me was just really falling apart. But I knew I had to hold on. I knew I had to keep my composure. And I did. And she just was like, oh, I like your little curly do. And all I could do was just picture each curl falling to the floor. And my hair has grown back fully now. And so I'm doing good after 7 years. But everybody doesn't have that success story. And I know that. And and I realize that, but we want you to know that find that support group. That's important to help you get through. And, everybody's not willing to talk about their stories. Like me at first, I absolutely did not want anybody to know. And had not that doctor insisted that I go home and tell my children, I probably would not have said anything until the day of the surgery. And it was a young lady, we're going to get back to Miss Peacock. There was a young lady, she was going through radiation, and her mom and they inspired me. So she was facing a double mastectomy. She was a young girl, maybe in her 30s. She had just had her first child when she got her diagnosis. And every day I sat in chemo, this young girl was inspiring me. She was giving me strength to go through this journey. And I'm sitting here like, well, she's getting a double mastectomy. She just had her child. That young lady had so much, she just had so much, information, and she was buying lunch for me, and she wouldn't let me buy lunch for her, and she would bring me magazines. And as the nurses were saying, well, Miss Pat, you just sitting there like, you just lost, because I didn't know what to expect. So, you do have that. And Ms. Peacock, I know you went through some of that when you were going through your chemo and radiation, because there's so much unknown. And just like you said, no one bothered to tell you not to wear the deodorant.
Yeah.
So you suffered
it is a journey, but I want to go back for a moment, because I don't want women out there to make the same mistake I made and keep putting it off and putting it off. It is important that you do the self-exam. I did it, and I'm like, I don't know what I'm feeling for. So I knew I'm fine. So I just let it go. But I want to encourage you to get your mammograms every year. Don't do like I did and keep putting it off until the Lord got to hit you over the head with a spiritual hammer and say, go get your mammogram. But the journey was not easy. And as Miss Pat said, you put that smile on your face because you don't want everybody to know what you're going through on the inside. And for me, it was a lot of internal things going on the inside. One of the things that bothered me was that I am a minister of the gospel. And on many Sundays, I preached on healing and how God can heal you, because he done it so many times for me. So I was like, it's a no-so, because I done been through it and he did this for me. And I'm saying, now, God, I have to let the people know that even though I have preached this, that now I'm faced with this life-threatening disease called breast cancer. But I got through it. And I did let the church know, and they were very supportive. But it's not an easy road. And lots of times where my mind, I said it focused on, was my sister. My husband had prostate cancer. He went through it like a true soldier. I say, God, he went through it like a true soldier. But I went down and spent a month with my sister. And I stayed there in the house with her and her daughter. And I watched her get up and try to eat, could not eat, had to go lay down. I watched her in the pain. They would give her, she got chemo. They give her the medicine to build up her appetite, to build up her immune system. Nothing worked. And I watched her day after day, and I would go in the bathroom sometime and drop a tear and wipe my face and come back out with a smile on my face. And I said, okay, what we gonna do today? Anything to encourage her. And then here I am, slapped in the face with this diagnosis. The difference between me and her was when they diagnosed hers, I think it was stage 3. With me, it was in the beginning, it was a lymph node, and they said it was very tiny, but it was there. And I said, God wanted me to know it was there before it got larger. That was the way I placed it in my mind. But it's not an easy journey when you're thinking about your family member, someone that you love and hold dear has lost their life to this disease. One of the things I want to share, Miss Pat, is that during this journey, when I came out of all the radiation and in the doctor's office, and we are talking, he talking about the next course of action. And I cannot remember the name of the pill, but whatever it was, you're supposed to take it for 5 years. And I asked him, I said, well, what are the side effects? And he began to name his side effects as high blood pressure, heart attacks, and strokes. I don't even remember what else he said after he named those 3. And I'm like, no, I never had a heart attack, but I've already had 2 strokes. The answer is no, I'm not gonna take it. At that moment, I said, I'm gonna have to trust God. And now in my 6th year, I just had my mammogram last month. I had my mammogram and my results came back fine. I'm with a doctor that is a faith doctor, and he believes in Jesus Christ, and that's a plus for me. So when I went, he said, well, I believe you made the right decision. And I said, I know I made the right decision for me. So what I want to share with the women out there, you have to search yourself and decide what your course of action is going to be, and that it's the best thing for you, not what somebody is telling you in your ear. The only person you need to listen to is your inner voice and the voice of God, and let him direct you in what you need to do, because this is serious. It is life-threatening. I've seen it take people's lives. But for me, when it comes to you yourself, taking your own advice sometimes, Miss Pat, is hard.
That it truly, truly is. And, you know, we're almost out of time, but I do want to go back and mention when you talked about men, because statistics also are telling us that although it's rare, men get breast cancer too.
Yes.
In 2021, an estimated 2,650 men will be diagnosed with breast cancer this year in the United States, and approximately 530 will die from breast cancer.
Wow.
So, you know, it does not just affect us as women. Men are being affected by this. And that's why we want to encourage you all. Please get your mammograms, do those self-checks, follow up with your doctors. You know, like you said, this journey is not an easy journey. It is a battle, but it's also a mental battle. So you have to stay strong and you have to stay focused. So Ms. Peacock, you know, before we end, I want you to go back and say something encouraging to our listeners and our viewers. And I want to thank you for sharing what you have.
God bless you, Miss Pat. I just want to say to the listening audience out there, to the women, I want to say to you, if you get that diagnosed, don't hold your head down, hold your head up high. And remember, you are still that same person, regardless of what disease is trying to attack your body. My journey was the faith walk. Your faith and your trust in God is going to get you through this journey. Get your exam. If you get the diagnosis, take a deep breath. On the inside, you're saying, God, help me, because I can't do this by myself. Let your family in. Let them help you walk with you in this journey. Let them help you. Let them be there. Listen to the encouraging words. But know, in the final analysis, you have to take this. You have to make this decision. And your faith and trust in God, even if you have to do the same thing I did, Lord, increase my faith, because you're going to get through it. There are some that don't, but we're not going to focus on that. Focus on, I am going to beat this with trusting God, my faith in God, doing what I'm supposed to do. God, I'm going to beat this. Cancer does not have me, but I have control over it, in the name of Jesus.
Amen. I'm 100 with you on that, Ms. Peacock. But Ms. Peacock, I truly want to thank you so very much again for being my guest today here on A Place Called Through. We do truly have been inspired by your journey and all the things that you have gone through, and knowing that you are surviving. And I want to say to our listeners and to our viewers, you know, if you would like to be a guest here on A Place Called Through, and we are broadcasting from WYTV7, Community Broadcasters Network. Again, I am your host and the author of Willpower, The Call to Rise Above. Please look for me on Facebook at A Place Called Through, at Willpower, the Call to Rise Above. You may follow me also on my website, which is www.willpowerthecalltoriseabove.org. To reach me by phone, area code of 843-608-9744. You can also send me an email at pgoingswp@gmail.com. We hope you will come back to us. We hope that you have been inspired today by our story about breast cancer awareness. Also, we just want to remind you to just a simple request, please sow a seed into our ministry to help us continue with our mission of hope. We also want you to know that it is our goal to inspire, encourage, and to empower others as we do so globally. Again, we invite you to be our guest, reach out to us, and we thank you for joining us today here on A Place Called Through.